minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Oh, yeah. Back again.
Yeah.
Man,
Back again.
We got so much to talk about. It took three of us to be able to do it this week. We got our brother Hefe in the house.
That's it. What up, Hefe?
Man, we told you it's going to change all the time, right? We said before we got a rotating cast of characters. It's going to be changing constantly. New people coming in, talking about different topics, different things. Obviously Hefe not only being one of our brothers here, but also our kind of out of our group, our resident college football expert as well. You can see he's got his Hurricanes gear on, proud. Lives down in South Florida, so he'll be able to give us a little info there. And man, we have got a ton to talk about from a sports weekend. We got some stuff. If we got time, we're going to talk about that has nothing to do with sports as well, but. You all see my background's a little bit different this week. I'm out in California. I had to pack up the mobile studio to be able to do this from California this week. And we got a ton to talk about, man. And, man, here's the big thing, right? We had so much going on. We couldn't wait. Like, it's not like we can hold off on talking about some of these things. You know, the sports weekend between college, NFL, is just too much craziness. So, what I wanted to do first is kind of start just a little bit, only spend a couple of minutes with it here, but – college football, a couple big stories, some crazy things that happened over the weekend. So, Hefe, what do you got for us? Some headlines and some thoughts of yours from the weekend.
So, as far as the top 10 is concerned, everything went chalk, right? Every top 10 team went ahead and handled their business. They went ahead and took care of their schools. I like the fact that Penn State went out of their comfort zone, went down to SEC country. And went ahead and handled Auburn nicely. It's fun to see games like that happen, right? Where two big schools get together, they meet, they do their thing because eyeballs want to see that, right? People want those challenges out there because we and we know at some point in time, once this college football starts getting expanded, conference play I think is going to dwindle down, and it's basically. Top teams are just going to start playing each other. It's going to become an NFL schedule. It's what it's bound to happen in the future.
Yeah,
that's how I feel it's going to lean.
I think it's trending that way.
Right when you think about the Big Ten, adding all these schools to their luxury list of schools that they already have, right? So I think personally, when games like that happen, it's good to see you're pitting two conferences together. So it just looks good, all in all. Whoever wins has the bragging rights, right?
Yep.
Anyways, I want to get to the game that College Game Day decided to show up and be at because of the upset that Appalachian State had when they went into Texas and A&M and handed them a loss at their home and got paid $1.5 million to do so.
Gotta love it.
Gentlemen,
that's some good business.
Unbelievable.
That's good business.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And how great is it? A great business. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Great
Get that payday, right? Get paid, do your thing.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. So ESPN decides to go ahead. Right. And then ESPN's like, okay, now we know what we need to do. App State was going to go ahead and take on Troy that following week at home. And what do we get is but another treat of a game. Last second. No time on the clock, right? Time expires. We get a 52-yard bomb in the end zone. App State wins.
Chip ball on the Hail Mary.
Knock it down.
Here's my
That's it. Knock it down. I don't get it.
They knock it down right into a wide receiver's hands. Here's the thing that's crazy to me, right?
Because it wasn't like it was in the end zone, right? Like,
yeah. But I'll tell you, heads up.
He was probably about 10 yards short.
It's a heads-up play by App State, though. Not only to – here's the thing, right? You watch this.
Sure.
When you watch that play again, it's not just heads-up by, okay, you caught the ball when it got swatted down. But you notice that every other receiver down there immediately went into blocking mode to allow him to circle back. He circles back around and then takes it in the end zone. I mean, that's a heads-up play by all of those players, not just that wide receiver.
Right. Well, you guess they practice that, but how many times do you practice that in like your practice? Because clearly you never want to plan for a Hail Mary play, but it was executed to perfection.
Oh, absolutely. It's like everybody knew their assignment right at the moment that they needed to in order for him to keep running around to get to the end zone. It was a phenomenal game. Great way to start the day for college football. The other game that I had a vested interest in, my Canes went down to, Texas A&M, and we lost. We lost. There's no moral victory in here. We lost. And the thing that bugs me the most is that I think we had opportunity to win the game. We basically dropped too many balls. Our receivers couldn't catch a thing. So this is just my own personal, touch of my segment, if you may. I'll talk about my Hurricanes all day long. We're not there yet. We got a long ways to go. We got a new head coach. We're trending in the right direction. But when you lose games like that, like games that that you absolutely should have won, you just hope that they don't haunt you later on down in the season.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? And so
absolutely,
that's it. That's all I'll say about that.
The others always do.
Well, right, and the only other story that I wanted to bring up is we know with this NIL deals, and Arch Manning obviously is a big 5-star recruit that we know of. This kid was treated to a wonderful weekend. Him, and mind you, there were other recruits there as well. But the rumor is that Texas spent over $250,000 on a recruiting weekend for these boys to try to get them to go to the school.
That's just the weekend. I mean, that's the thing. This isn't a month.
Just a weekend.
This is a weekend.
No. Weekend.
And none of these was signed on.
No, right. And
they had
open.
Nobody committed.
Open. I mean, Arch is not committed, or is? I mean, it seemed like Texas was a done deal for him, or.
Well, nothing was a done deal until you turn in that fax paper.
Sure.
You sign on the dotted line, and that fax paper comes in.
True.
However,
even then,
I mean, he might be a Texas lean.
Okay, that's crazy.
Man, I'll tell you what, that way.
Top Golf,
sure.
4-season suites, open bar everywhere they went. They said they went to a taco place and spent over $9,000 on tacos and whatever else. The guacamole, in Texas, it better have been that darn good. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, come on. Like, I'm sure we've had some tabs that we can be a little bit ashamed of sometimes, but hey.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
I can think of a Vegas trip too. Yeah, Vegas trip too.
One or two, right?
Yeah. We've done some damage and had some damage done to us as well on those trips, but I think that's the thing. If you look at that, it really does give you this idea, though, of just, again, you'll hear it talked about relentlessly, but the value of these players to college sports teams. This idea now, thankfully, I think we've moved past this to a large degree, but this idea that like college was somehow pure, like as the Olympics or something like that, which of course obviously is nowhere near pure either. And it was like, the purity, they're getting an education, they're doing this. Dude, these guys are rock stars when they're going to these schools, and this is just a weekend.
Yep.
They will spend $250,000 to hope that this player will come there. And then they're going to spend that much more, and he's going to earn that much more throughout his time there. You can only imagine the NIL opportunities with an Arch Manning. I mean, it's just it's nuts, absolutely insane.
Absolutely. That was. I was just saying, that basically was the.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to try it again. Who wants it?
I was just saying,
this is the flip episode.
Editing room, right? As far as I'm concerned, the college weekend had some ups and downs. but for me, those were some of the takes, and I'll always talk about my Canes no matter what. I'll hit on Penn State for my boy over there, Jeff, because I know that's near and dear to his heart. That was college football in a nutshell for me this weekend. I'll always look to find a weird story that happens over the weekend to try to touch base on it for us on the show, and try to bring you some things that might tickle your fancy, so you might want to listen and tune in for us. So thanks, boys.
Absolutely. Sure. Absolutely. Excellent job, man. Excellent job. Appreciate the insight there. So now we're going to roll from college into the pros, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL weekend that was. And to get us ready for that, got some of the beautiful NFL music. That's how you get ready for the weekend. That's how you get ready. This should be my walk-in music. This is my intro music. Anytime I come into the room, that's what I want played, right? So we had as crazy an NFL weekend as you're going to imagine having had. We thought, and in fact, last week here on You Get the Horns, we were talking about there was no way that week 2 could possibly live up to week 1 when it came to just crazy games, crazy finishes, upsets, and everything else. And instead, we just look like absolute jackasses for that opinion, because now come week 2, week 2 makes week 1 look like child's play. So, Jeff, why don't you take this one, man? Tell us a little bit about the NFL this weekend. Hit on some highlights. What jumped out at you?
Sure. We're gonna stick mainly with the AFC North. What a disaster of a weekend. This was the first time since week 3 of 2019 that all 4 teams lost. And boy, did they lose in epic fashion. We're going to start with the Ravens. I know this hurts your soul. It hurts your soul. They blew a 21-point lead. Ravens, they're known for running the ball, and they're known for defense. Tua Tagovailoa, 469 yards passing and 6 touchdowns.
I'm sorry.
Now,
can you
one
say
thing
that
I
one
want to
more
say to this.
Sure. 469 yards, 6 touchdowns, which is career high for him.
One thing I want to say to this. For anyone who was listening to the show last week, we talked about this very topic of Tua. And one of the things that was talked about is if Tua can't make it work with this team, with these receivers, then he just can't make it work, right? That's exactly what we talked about. It was like he's got everything you could possibly want to be successful in this league.
That's it.
I mean, they give him Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Gesicki at tight end. You've got what you need to be successful if you're a quarterback. If you can't make it work incredibly well with those weapons, you can't make it work. Well, lo and behold, he showed us he can make it work. And he certainly made it work on Sunday. And look, Lamar had a fantastic game. So, I mean, not taking anything. At halftime of that game, there was no doubt that Lamar was probably leading or top 2 or 3 players in the league for MVP through the first game and a half of the season. And then freaking Hurricane Tua happened, and there ain't no telling what's going to go on from here. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the rest of the year looks like for the Dolphins.
Yeah. Hefe, you were going to say something?
Yeah. So, we watched the game. We were watching it at my father-in-law's house, and everything that I saw, and it wasn't that Lamar Jackson didn't do his thing. In your MVP, suggestion of him, he still did his thing out there. It is just the fact that the Dolphins were able to, in the second half, take it up. You hate to say it, but they took it up like a whole nother notch. And their receivers just kept on blowing. Like, how does a DB not keep an eye on a guy by the name of Tyreek Hill? That number and that name on the back of a jersey, there should be a spy on him 24/7. While you're on that field, you cannot lose him for 1 second. And after he came in after having cramps, and he still does what he does, and they do what they did, and to win the game. I mean, come on. The weakest thing that I feel that the Dolphins don't have right now is a running game. To me, I feel that they are running back by committee, which a lot of teams are, but they don't have that one running back that sticks out for you. But their wide receivers make up for more than that by a mile. That's my thought on it. It was a great game. Obviously I know some people, Tad, it was kind of personal to see that happen, but that's football. That's why we love the game. That's why we love watching, because, you hate to say it, any given Sunday, that's what happened.
So true.
That's it. So
true. Now let's talk about, who do you have next? Because I know you've got some. I get excited because I know what some of these topics are. I mean, each one is so crazy to talk about. So what's the next one here?
Sure. How about this? Super Bowl runner-ups, the Cincinnati Bengals, fall to 0-2 against a Dakless Cowboys. Listen, I was going to make a joke last week and say that Joe Burrow was on pace for 119 sacks. But realistically, it's 111 because he got sacked 6 times again. This is your franchise quarterback. This is
and your newly revamped offensive line. Yeah, this is the offensive line. Cincinnati spent the money, they spent the time, they spent the offseason rebuilding this offensive line because they said this is the one thing missing. And what you've rolled out so far, now it's still very early. I want to be very clear about that. It's very early. These are new guys to the team. They're still gelling. Yes. Obviously, we got a lot to come back from. But good Lord, they're as bad or worse than they were last year, and it's all new players. So if I'm in Cincinnati, if I'm the offensive line coach for the Cincinnati Bengals, I am literally sweating bullets right now because it doesn't seem to matter who's on the line. It is terrible play, man. So at a certain point, it isn't the players, it's the coach. Like, let's look at this guy, right? So for next week, if they have another bad game next week, I'm calling him out by name, and we're going to have to discuss his career because what they're doing to that poor Joe Burrow is something brutal.
So you say, we say it's only 2 games. This was fascinating to me, and it makes 0 sense to me. So in 2020, they expanded it to 14 teams, right? So literally almost half of the teams, right? But since 2020, no team has started 0-2 and made the playoffs. And they've expanded it. Huge. So you would think that would be the case. But, I mean, dude, this is going to be all year. Like, what can Cincinnati do to protect him? I don't know. I mean, he's going to have to start getting the ball out like Tom Brady, like 1.8 seconds. It's shotgun, and it's catch the ball and throw the ball. I mean, I don't know what else they do at this point. And that's sad because, man, that dude is special. I mean, they held Jamar Chase in check. Good for Cooper Rush, right? Cooper Rush is 2-0 as a starter. Wow. I hope he goes 6-0, and there's a quarterback controversy with that Prescott.
That's all that Dallas needs. Dallas just needs another controversy, so they're going to stay in the headlines, right? Yeah, let's have a quarterback controversy, so they keep popping up on every ESPN program that they can possibly be, right? So we can just see arguments. Skip Bayless on Fox, all those boys,
Well, and you look again. I mean, look, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I hate the Cowboys, but at the same time, if you look at a Tony Pollard, when he's in the game, the guy jumps off the page. Tony Pollard is a difference maker on that team. And look, I know they got so much money tied up in Ezekiel Elliott, and they're dying to be able to get out from under that contract. And I think this is the last year that they have a ton of dead money tied up. And after this season, there will not be an Ezekiel Elliott with the Dallas Cowboys. I can't imagine a scenario where he stays on that team.
No. It's the only reason he's with the team. Tony Pollard is head and shoulders better than Zeke. Zeke looks slow out there.
Yes.
But it's it. I mean, it costs them more money to let him go than it is to keep him. So, all right, let's spell Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pollard jumps off the screen when Zeke's out. When Zeke's been running the ball and then they pull him out and they put Tony in, he just jumps off the screen. It's night and day what a difference that is between him and Zeke. And not just the end result, but the explosiveness, the speed. Man, that guy gets that ball and he's gone. Like it's a different approach and a different look. So it's gonna be interesting there in Dallas. As always.
Unbelievable. So we go to the next game. Yeah, we're going to go to the next game. Cleveland.
Oh, boy.
All right, I'm going to blow you away with this stat. They lose 30-17. I'm sorry. They lose after being up 30-17.
Yeah.
Right.
With 1:30 left in the game. Listen to this stat. This is according to ESPN. Teams had won. Listen to this. Teams had won 2,229 consecutive games after being up by at least 13 points in the final 2 minutes.
Only Cleveland.
How do we say Cleveland going to Cleveland?
Yeah.
Cleveland going to Cleveland, right?
Cleveland going to Cleveland.
This is the week after they put what was that stupid little gremlin thing they put on the field as their logo?
The Elfie or whatever it is.
Elf, whatever. They're Elf. Yeah. Elfie, yeah, Elfie.
It doesn't seem possible.
2,229 straight games. 2,229.
That's insane.
That's basically permanent.
It is part. It's just par for the course for Cleveland.
This is like Cal Ripken's.
It's what
this is like Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak. Like this is Cal Ripken's consecutive game streak. It'll never be broken. It'll never be touched. Like there's just no way someone's gonna blow that. Like it should go forever. Somehow, only Cleveland. They found a way to brown it up.
Yeah.
Could there?
So I have Chubb in a lot of my fantasy teams. He's a good running back to have. He had a great game, but now I read that he just came out and decided to say that, selfishly, I'm glad he took the touchdown, but now he's saying I might have cost us the game by scoring that touchdown. Maybe you're taking me. You kill the clock. Game over. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chubb.
Yeah.
However,
thank you, Chubb.
You cost yourself a victory there.
But honestly, I mean, look, at that point, you did not even probably think it was going to be consequential. I mean, you're playing the daggone Jets,
exactly.
First of all. Like, there's no way. Like, it's no like way. Hindsight's 20/20. Yeah, maybe you did cost us the game. But who else cost you the game? I mean, you were up on the Jets. You allowed – and again, not for nothing. This is not the Zach Wilson Jets, which who knows if that's better or worse. This is the Joe Flacco Jets, who came out and apparently like, hey man, who the heck knows what's going to happen now moving forward with those guys? But we know they had a lot of young players on that team. Other than Joe Flacco, they've got a lot of young players on that team.
This is the 307 yards and 4 touchdowns Joe Flacco led Jets.
Hard to believe. I mean, who's seen this dude put up numbers like that since he was with the Ravens in the playoffs? Like that's the last time you would have seen Flacco putting up those numbers. Yeah, just lights out play.
That might have
really,
been
really crazy.
That might have been one of the best onside kicks I think I've seen in forever.
Oh, phenomenal! And how often do those actually work? Right? I mean, the percentages are so low, and for them to be able to pull that, it was phenomenal. I saw a meme, and I was trying to see if I could pull it to send to you guys. It was a picture of like Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, and another young quarterback, and then Joe Flacco talking about young guns showing out on Sunday. Joe Flacco showing out on Sunday, young gun, attaboy.
Yeah, the old young gun. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So so now we've covered the Ravens, we've covered the Browns, we've covered the Bengals. There's still one team left here that I think we need to touch on. We'd be remiss if we did not spend adequate time on the last team in the AFC North.
I don't recall. Is there? I thought there was only 3 teams. There's
definitely a fourth. There is a fourth. Technically and barely, but there is a fourth.
Oh my goodness gracious!
So let's talk a little bit about Pittsburgh Steelers, New England Patriots. Look, on paper, 3 years ago, this would have been a hell of a game, right? Like, this is what you would have wanted to see.
Yeah.
Now, I guess, somewhere it got televised, but the reality is probably shouldn't have been.
It's messed up.
Could have probably aired old episodes of Captain Kangaroo or something instead and gotten better ratings. But let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit, right? This game just doesn't have the cachet that it once did. But I mean, again, these are still 2 great franchises, both going through kind of separate, somewhat rebuilds and uncertainty at quarterback, among other positions. An ugly game, but take us through it.
Yeah, well, Steelers are known for ugly games. The past 2 years, every game has been an ugly game. So let's be fair there. So, of course, yes, Steelers lose 17-14. And it was really, I mean, it's hard to put this on the defense, but there really was just some lapses with the defense and special teams. So Nelson Aguilar, I don't know if you all caught the catch. I mean, it's just, it's on. You can't do that at the end of you can't do that at the end of the half. You got to high point that ball. DB did not do that and let him just. I mean, straight mossed him. I just can't wait
very much
till Sunday, and we can hear you got mossed, and that's going to be exactly what it is. Aguilar goes right over top. And then, if that's not bad enough, then the Steelers literally drop an interception that was thrown. Mac Jones throws right to them. And, I mean, this is why they're DBs. We love to make that joke. This is why they're DBs. But, there's just no excuse. It's right there. You've got to catch it. And then that same drive, they punt to Gunnar Olszewski, former Patriot. I don't want to. Who talked
going into this game? Did you? I don't know if you saw that. Did you see the talk from Gunnar Olszewski going into this game, saying that he wanted to prove a point to the Patriots for ever having let him go? And he just goes out and just muffs the punt, drops that thing, turns the ball over against your former team. I mean, that you're losing sleep that night after that play.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's
Did
the game.
Somebody
right
check
there.
his bank account.
They don't put anything past
somebody, you know what I mean? Maybe he has an offshore account that just so happened to get deposited a certain amount of cash.
So maybe they deflate footballs and they inflate bank accounts. Is that the idea?
Boom.
Oh, it's so funny. Here's what I know is TJ Watt should get Defensive Player of the Year votes regardless of how many games he plays. They turned around. It was the Bengals. Let's be fair, 7 sacks against the Bengals, and they gave up 0. They did not get a single sack against the Patriots the first game with TJ out, and that's just it's hard.
This
for
is
me
Mac
to
Jones.
fathom.
This is not a mobile quarterback. We're talking about Mac Jones. This is a statue back there. You've got to be able to get to him and pressure him. He's a young quarterback. Now's the time to rattle him, get in his face. He doesn't have rock star receivers. And Pittsburgh traditionally would have been doing that, and they could not make it happen. I mean, credit to the Patriots as well for finding out a way to secure their protections. But that was surprising.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to me how how one defensive player can make that big of a difference. But we saw it last year when TJ was out a couple of games. Like, he just makes that big of a difference. So, unbelievable. So, here's what I really want to talk about. I'm done. I'm through. I'm over the Mitchell Trubisky experience. It wasn't anything that this dude did.
2 games in.
It was what?
2 games in. Throw in the towel.
And here's what it was. Here's what it was. And it was one play that I said, this guy doesn't have it. It was a 3rd and 8. You're down. This dude had it was a perfect pocket. You could move, you could do whatever you need to do. He decides he's going to check it down to his running back at the line of scrimmage. Literally gets his running back catches it, but literally gets his running back just straight up blown up at the line of scrimmage for no gain. It was like, are you seeing ghosts or what is happening? Mitchell Trubisky will be a phenomenal backup quarterback for 10, 12, 13, 14 years, as long as he wants to be. Because here's what a backup quarterback does. A backup quarterback doesn't lose you a game. A backup quarterback doesn't make turnovers all the time. A backup quarterback is just in there to be seen, not heard, for the 2 to 3 games that your starter is out. There's no instinct there. There's no, drive. Let me move outside of the pocket. Let me make something. You have to make something happen. You are down. You've scored at that point 7 points, 8 points, whatever. I don't even know, 10 points. You're down at that point. You have to make something happen. And he decides to take his 4th check down. I mean, great. He went through all of his receivers. Maybe they're not open. Dude, move out of the pocket. Move. Yeah. Do something. Yeah. Instead, he decides he's going to check it down. I'm done. And I don't know if y'all saw the game. The fans were just chanting, pick it, pick it, pick it. I mean, see, that's got to wear on you.
See, and I was about to ask if it's Chris Oladukin time, the QB you picked up from South Dakota State. Did you really? Because I didn't know. 7th round pick there. You know what I mean? I'm thinking it's Chris time. I didn't know it was Kenny Pickett time. Because if that's
figure
the case,
he's in the master.
Then,
he's in the master plan. He's in the master plan somewhere for sure. You got to know.
Nobody was chanting Mason, Mason. They were just they were like, never mind, never mind.
Yeah.
Listen, Jeff, we've had plenty. Well, all of us, you too, Tad. We've had plenty of conversations as far as the Pittsburgh Steelers are concerned. As far as what you guys do draft day when you pick up wide receivers and running backs, just go down the line of past years. You guys have and always will, for some unknown reason, pick up great players. I don't know how you do it. I mean, kudos to your scout teams that are out there digging into these kids, trying to find them. Because I mean, go down the list of past receivers; they've all been studs. Your running backs have been studs. Harris is going to be a good one. Pickens, I love Pickens, dude. I love that kid. I think he has a bright future. The fact that you guys have weapons right now, I'm sorry, but if you're gonna go through growing pains, everybody needs to go through them. Maybe it is time to move on. Maybe put Pickett in there. I mean, just see what happens. I mean, what do you have to lose? The team will grow together. The receivers will get used to the quarterback. I think it's worth taking that. I don't know, boys. How do you feel?
Yep.
Well, look, I'll jump in for a moment here because, from my perspective looking at this, I think it's interesting. I mean, it feels early. It feels early to pull the plug on it, even though I understand the results haven't been there, right? But the problem is once you go to Kenny Pickett, you can't go back. And if it turns out that he just needs more time,
exactly right.
then they're gonna, they don't have an option. So I think they're going to wait as long as they can. And I also think realistically, the Steelers did not come into this season with crazy high expectations. So I think you probably look at where you are by, game 6 maybe, and you make a decision from there. It would be my guess, right? I'm not saying that's what they'll do. I mean, trust me. I'll tell you exactly what I was traveling, only got a chance to see some highlights. But the whole time, the highlights that I saw and the bits of Trubisky that I've seen, the same thought goes through my head every single time I watch the guy play.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
Every single time, right? Like, that's what I think when I'm watching this guy. I'm like, you're not that guy, man. Like, you are not that guy. Like, the guy has a skill set, but I don't think his skill set is well suited for what the Steelers need him to do with the receiving core that they have. This guy does not have the strongest arm. He's mobile, but I think they got to give Pickett a little bit more time to learn. I'm guessing that the coaching staff feels the same way because they haven't made a move yet. It is just 2 games in. And also, look, I mean, there's going to be pressure. I mean, there already is on offensive coordinator Matt Canada.
Already.
That's definitely, there's pressure. That pressure's there. It was there last year, and it's staying there, now this year. So that's going to be interesting as well. So obviously, I give the last word to you. I defer to you, Jeff, as you are the resident Steelers fan. But those are my thoughts on the topic.
Matt Canada has done an amazing job of fooling everybody. Last year it was, I can't run my offense because of Big Ben. Sure, you can't run a run-pass option with a 38-year-old quarterback. Sure. This year, it's much of the same. I'm going to look off screen here because I got to get these quotes correct. But to me, Canada has to already be on the hot seat. As much as I think Trubisky is a career backup and a phenomenal career backup, I hope he stays in Pittsburgh and backs up Kenny Pickett. I think we see Pickett, if he struggles the first half of Thursday night's game against Cleveland, I think we're going to see Pickett. Now, if we see Pickett, we see him the rest of the year. So this is a do or die situation. Yeah. You're right. The Steelers probably understood where they were, but guys, they have a top 7 defense. I mean, this year, you can't waste that. Like, you can't waste that with an offense.
True.
With all of those weapons. You're talking Chase Claypool. You're talking Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth. You're talking Najee Harris. That is an offense that is built for big plays, awesomeness. Like, they should be scoring, 20, 21, 27, 28 points a game, whatever. Here's what they've already started saying. This is you're right. This is only 2 games in, but here's already the quotes. Chase Claypool. We have to call the right plays to get down the field in the right ways. Deontay Johnson, Deontay Johnson is the quietest dude. I've told you guys, this guy to me is Antonio Brown light. The way he runs his routes, gets in and out of his routes. I've never seen anyone do that outside of Antonio Brown. And he keeps his mouth shut. Here's what Deontay says. We can only do what they tell us to do and execute it.
Oh, you never want to hear that. Never want to hear that.
Here's Mitch. Oh, yeah. Here's Mitch Trubisky, which again, Mitch is to blame for. I'd give him at least 50% of it. They ask him, Mitch, why are there no throws over the middle? And he says, call concepts to get receivers there. I mean, oh my gosh. This is after 2 weeks, guys. Pat Freiermuth.
This is a mutiny.
We just got to do stuff that we're comfortable. Yeah, Pat Freiermuth. We just got to do stuff that we're comfortable with and do stuff that we do more consistently in practice. I think we're good at certain things, and I think we need to get to those faster. This is an indictment.
Wow.
This is a mutiny week 2. Week 2. They're averaging like 14 points a game. This is that you got Canada is not going to be long if this keeps up. I can promise you that. 2 offensive touchdowns in 2 games.
So you said that Trubisky takes half of the blame of what's happening out there because he's the QB and he's the guy throwing it around, right? So then if they do make a change, doubtful that they'll make a change at a coordinator position this early in the season.
No.
But is it Canada not doing his job or not believing that Trubisky can handle what it is that he's calling down from the booth?
Fair question.
There you go.
Fair question.
Fair question. Because in preseason,
what do you do?
They look like a juggernaut offensively. In preseason, I mean, that first game, they just came on blazing on with anyone that was in there, Mason included. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's more of like, hey, let's go conservative. We have a great defense. Let's just not turn the ball over. But it's just not going to win you games in this NFL. Like, that's just not something you can do. Like, I don't know. Canada has fooled a lot of people since his time as a Pitt offensive coordinator. So I just don't think he's long for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Tomlin's not going to make a call like that. He's not going to admit a mistake like that, and he's going to ride him out. So, we're just going to have to live with it. But I say we see Pickett probably I would say week 6 at the very latest, and I would say as early as Thursday night, we're going to see Pickett.
Wow.
Ride or die.
Well, look, we normally save this for players here on the show, and of course, obviously, everybody out there listening to You Get the Horn show here. We normally save this for players, but I think it seems very suitable to say tonight, Matt Canada, you are officially on the clock.
Facts.
This is going to get interesting now to see where that one goes for him. So, what else do we have in the world of the NFL here? Any other details? I have just a really small thing. Don't know this to be the case, but I'm gonna project here that this week the Ravens will sign defensive end Jason Pierre-Paul. I believe JPP will become a Raven sometime this week. They met with him in the preseason. Okay. Yeah, met with him in preseason, talked with him. Rumor is that they're still in some conversation with him. Who knows? Maybe he'll be signed by the time this episode actually airs. But yeah, minimally that'll be. I think we'll start to see something happen there with JPP. So that's an early prediction on what'll happen. Yeah, I see that happening. Okay.
Any
other notes and details
out there? Yeah. The other thing that I saw out there that Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley's going to go ahead and join that Tampa Bay Bucs staff and try to help them because they seem to have problems at wide receiver, keeping them healthy, that is. And you know what? That's all that Brady needs. He needs a feisty receiver like that in the slot that's going to get him the Danny Amendolas, the what's the other guy that they had? That
Julian Edelman
receiver. That's Julian Edelman, that little in between guy that's going to get you those fighting yards and stuff like that. Because Chris Godwin's hurt, and it's one of those things where, hey, I don't see the guy still can do it. He wasn't, he did his thing in Buffalo last season. They decided to part ways. He finds a spot at Tampa. I think they'll gel very nicely. I think that's a good pickup by Tampa Bay.
For sure.
And we know Brady loves the tight ends. We know he loves the short, intermediate, over the middle passes, and that's what Beasley does best. So, yeah, I definitely think that signing will make a ton of sense for them.
It does. Yeah, it really does.
That's a good one.
They rush Chris.
Anything else that we have?
Yeah. No, I mean, who's going to beat the Bills? Who? Bills are going to beat themselves, right? I mean, that's it. Themselves. That is a juggernaut. That was literally a 30. Yeah, injuries, beat themselves, stupid turnovers. They won on a 34-0 run against the Tennessee Titans. Titans have won 11 and 12 games for the past couple of years. They just went through them like they were literally the Jacksonville Jaguars of 2 years ago. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Gentlemen, they neutralized Derrick Henry. They were able to take Derrick Henry and drop him. Not many teams are able to do that, but their defensive line is big enough to put some meat on top of that man and put him to the ground. And if you could do that, everybody knows Derrick Henry is the key to their offense. He's running, it opens up the pass. It's simple football. If you get him on the ground, ball game.
Yeah,
that's it.
I don't have the stats in front of me, but I feel like last I saw, Derrick Henry had something like 46 rushing yards that game. I mean, just like he was not impactful whatsoever. So, look, I think at this point we got to look at it and say the Titans run at the top or near the top. It looks like the door has kind of closed on them, and it was a very short window that they had. Very short. It
was.
I mean, you still got look. Forget you got Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. We know that's not going to last much longer. They're looking to get Malik Willis in there, and when Tennessee was down so much last night, they went ahead and put Malik Willis in and got him some time. They're going to need that. But the reality is they just don't have very many weapons at this stage in the game, and they can't compete in this AFC. I mean, if you look at the across the board at the AFC teams, every single team, if they're a top-tier team, has at least one big name player that teams have to game plan for. And even if you game plan for them, it may not be successful, right? In the AFC, you got Patrick Mahomes. You got Josh Allen. You also, though, within those teams, you also have Travis Kelce and Stephon Diggs, right? So, like, you look at those weapons that are paired with these unstoppable quarterbacks. In Baltimore, you have Lamar Jackson. In Cincinnati, you got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon as well. Yeah. So you've just, in all of these, and even Miami, it's Tyreek, it's Jalen Waddle, right? And then we'll see what happens with Tua. So all of these, the upper tier of the AFC teams, they have these tremendous weapons that you have to figure out how in the world you game plan for. But yet, when you look at your second tier teams, right? And right now, as we stand here today, this can change. Those second tier teams are teams like a New England, like a Pittsburgh, these teams that just don't have that one standout dominant player that can change the game for you right now. Now, we know they've got talent, and so some of these players may come into their own and be able to do more of this. But, man, if you don't have that, and Tennessee, they don't have it right now. They used to have it in Derrick Henry. He was the game wrecker. Right. He was the difference maker that could kind of tilt the field in their favor. And he's just not that guy right now. We're just not seeing that from him right now. So for whatever reason, that's the situation that they're in. I don't really see it turning around. They don't have phenomenal receivers or anything else. They don't have a phenomenal quarterback. And it's just kind of Derrick Henry at this point, and teams have figured out, at least up to this point, how to stop him.
Exactly.
Balance of power is really shifting.
You get him going sideways. That's it. I mean, Derrick Henry, his runs, they all had his shoulder pad sideways. I mean, anyone can take him down at that point. I mean, not me personally, but
I don't love your chances.
On an NFL team, no, not all my chances at all. But anyone on an NFL team, is taking him down. I mean, they just got him running sideways, and some of the calls were weird, like a sweep with Derrick Henry, like on a 4th or 3rd and 2, whatever. What are you doing? What are you doing, man?
Yeah, it's just not suited to his strengths at all.
Yeah.
No,
desperate times. You know what I mean? You get desperate, you just start drawing at things to see what's going to happen. I'm telling you, Buffalo, their D-line is what's going to set the stage for everything, and then you work yourself backwards. We all know that. Just like an offensive line creates it, it's the D-line, helps the linebackers, helps the secondary. Because once all those threes come together, you throw a ball in the air and the D-line has that pressure. Guess what? The DBs, how many interceptions did they have that game? You know what I'm saying? It's just football is difficult, but at the same time, we know if your offensive line is working, it's going to help out the quarterback, which is going to get the ball to the receivers. That's going to open up holes for the running back. Just like a D-line, it's going to end up helping the linebackers, which is going to end up helping out the secondary because they get pressure on that QB. The ball starts getting squirted up in the air. Then your defense just looks that much good. And Buffalo has a D-line.
Absolutely.
A great one.
Absolutely.
And they were still without Ed Oliver. Like, he didn't even play that game. So, I mean, there you go. Unbelievable.
Well, and I think the last game that I want us to touch on briefly, and I know we really hadn't planned on talking about this, but I think it's worth spending just a couple quick minutes on, because we did have our first Monday Night Football doubleheader yesterday. And so the first game of that was of course Titans Bills, which clearly was completely lopsided. But then you had the second game, which was really interesting because you had the Eagles against the Minnesota Vikings, and Minnesota's obviously come in, looked fantastic week one. Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins. I mean, there's just a lot to see there. Coming in, they're going to be playing Philadelphia, an Eagles team, which, again, very young, very unproven. Minnesota really had the opportunity to come out and make a statement about who they were and what they were about, and instead didn't happen for them whatsoever. Didn't happen. This was a new look Eagles team. We saw a Jalen Hurts playing like I know a Howie Roseman and Jeff Lurie thought that he would be capable of playing when they drafted him. This is a guy whose confidence is up. And again, not unlike a Tua type of scenario where you take the player and you put really good pieces around him. And then you say, show us. Right? Show us what you can do. If you're the man, show us you're the man. And Tua has done that thus far this season. And Jalen Hurts definitely doing that as well. And really, look, I mean, that Minnesota team was looking like they could be really strong. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts was single-handedly dominant in that game and led them to a strong victory last night. So it was really impressive to see what the Eagles were putting together as well.
For sure. Kirk Cousins might want to use up some of that sick time on Monday Night Football games. I mean, just call in sick, man. Just call in sick. 2-10 now on Monday Night Football. 8-18
doesn't seem possible.
Primetime games. To me, he's a good quarterback. Like, he's not phenomenal, but like, he's a good, solid
make all the throws.
Quarterback. To have these numbers is it's just too much. Just call in sick, dude. Just call in sick, man. No one's gonna blame you.
Okay. No, it just doesn't make sense.
So I'm gonna go there. So gentlemen, I remember when we were in college, there was a movie that came out called The Mystery Men. I don't know if you remember, with Ben Stiller.
Sure.
Had,
Mystery Men, absolutely. Great
superpowers,
movie.
Mystery Men, yeah. There was a character in there that believed to be, to make himself invisible. How did he make himself invisible? It was when nobody was looking. So do we have that scenario with Kirk Cousins that if it's a primetime game and all eyeballs are on him, he cannot perform? However, you can go ahead and break out that "How You Like Me Now" when nobody knew that he was playing the game, and he ended up throwing 5 touchdowns and over 400 yards to people because no eyeballs were watching him do it.
That's true. That's
Mystery
a great point.
Scenario here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Fantastic point. Very well said, man, because you're absolutely right. When the eyeballs are on him, he just can't seem to be the guy. So, the question with him, of course, obviously from his time in Washington, everyone remembers the, crazy, you like that, chant. And,
you like that.
At the end of the day here, man, Minnesota, Washington, doesn't matter where the guy plays, you don't like him in primetime games. Like, no one likes him in primetime games. And again, Still great players. And you throw into Justin Jefferson, man. He's got maybe the single greatest weapon in the NFL right now in Justin Jefferson. So you gotta make it happen, and just no excuse for that last night. The Eagles are a good team, but Minnesota made them look like a great team, like a contender last night. And I think right now a lot of people are probably buying high on the Eagles that probably shouldn't be. There's going to be a little overreaction. Yeah. The market's going to swing, and there's going to be a big rush to Philadelphia's bandwagon. But I'm going to be very curious to see them moving forward. Very curious to see what they can do moving forward with that team they put together.
They have a good a good setup there. I mean, it's run the ball, it's control the clock. You know, Jalen Hurts only has 1 touchdown in 2 games, passing touchdown. And that was last night. But he's completing almost 70% of his passes. He's 7th in QBR through 2 games. I mean, he's just doing all the right things. He's just not throwing touchdowns, but he's rushing for him. He's setting the team up in the right position. I mean, great.
And if they're winning without him throwing touchdowns,
right?
If they're winning without him throwing touchdowns, then that's even more impressive, because then you start thinking, hey, when that offense really does start clicking, it's going to only be that much more dangerous.
Only better. Yep.
I mean,
that's it.
You look at the NFC East right now, and I pulled up the NFC East standings right now. It's early. We know it's only 2 weeks in the season right now. Did you have the Giants being 2-0? Did you have the Giants being 2-0? No, not me.
No one.
No,
absolutely no one.
I think they cost me in my survivor pool. They absolutely cost me in the survivor pool. They destroyed my survivor pool. Week 1, gone, done. So, I mean, right now, I'm looking at it. You have the Eagles 2-0, the Giants 2-0, Washington 1-1, Dallas 1-1. We have a lot of games to play. We understand that. We get that. But right now, the most impressive team in that league is Philly. Philly right now in the NFC East, they're playing ball.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's going to be interesting. I mean, Philly was my preseason pick to win that division. I
is that right?
do not. 100%. I do not. I will not ever, under any circumstances, ever buy in to Dallas being a good team, being capable of winning, being anything other than a completely, thoroughly, disgustingly, poorly run, disorganized. I don't even call them an organization. They're just a team. And so if you want to talk about a team and an organization that I absolutely have no respect for, it's Dallas. And so, I know that people were kind of believing in them going into the season. I didn't see it then, and I don't see it now. And honestly, Dak or no Dak, it's kind of played out more or less the way I thought it would. And the truth of the matter is, look, I don't think, if you look at all the money tied up in Dak Prescott, now this is early. I'm saying this very early. But if Cooper Rush could consistently play the way he did the other night, then you don't need that money tied up in Dak. Is he as good as Dak? Absolutely not. But if he's 65 to 70% of Dak, then that's a pretty good scenario. If he's 65 to 70 at least percent of what Dak is, and I in one game out of him, he was about 102% of what Dak is. So if he can consistently come in that 70 to 75% range, then I think that. And so you look at that and some of the just horrible deals that they've made there. Again, we talked about it earlier. I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but Ezekiel Elliott's contract is just ridiculous. There's absolutely no reason to be paying that guy like that. And so they're just a team, and because of that, you couldn't afford the type of protection. You had to get rid of Lyle Collins, who's now in Cincinnati, not protecting Joe Burrow. You had these pieces that you haven't been able to afford to keep. Yeah, you had pieces you couldn't afford to keep because you're paying the wrong guys on the team to not be difference makers for you. That's just my take on Dallas. They suck and I hate them.
Yeah, sure. That's why Amari Cooper's not with Dallas.
Right.
I mean, that's it. You couldn't afford to keep him.
That's it.
So bad for him that he went to Cleveland.
Right.
Ouch.
Man.
Yeah. Another team I have no respect for
Dallas,
whatsoever.
It's the trickle down effect, right? Everything from the top, Jerry Jones ends up affecting the entire team. So I hear you. I see where you're coming from. At one point in time, I was a Dallas fan. I think that was like the consensus across America. At least that's what they were telling us, America's team, whatever. I like them because they poached my head coach from the University of Miami and Jimmy Johnson and brought him in to do what he did. And he had a great run. And so I became a fan in that era. Once Jimmy Johnson left, I was over it. I was done. And that kind of, to me, is why I lean more towards college than I do the pros. I love watching the pros. I love celebrating the pros. But I'm more of a college guy than I am a pro game. Like, I watch it. I love it. I'm all about fantasy. I pay attention to it. But that's why I don't have a team. I'm in South Florida. The Dolphins, I watch them because they're there. They're on. And for me, the NFL is so great. Every week is just a new experience. And I love the game. I really do. I just enjoy the game. I love watching it. I love what happens to unfold. And we're lucky to be on here to talk about it and let these people know that are out there that are going to be listening to this that, hey, this game is great. Football works, man. It should be year-round.
It just works.
Yeah.
It really should. Yeah.
There's a reason it's the most popular game, man. There's a reason it's the most popular game in America. So, I mean, it's just it is what it is, man. You can't argue with its popularity. Its formula. TV deals are getting to be more and more lucrative. Salary cap driving up. I mean, we could do a whole episode or two on the salary cap and player contracts and everything else. But the reality is that the NFL isn't going anywhere, man. It's more popular than ever. There's so many great young players in there right now that that the league's in better condition than it's ever been. So it's really, really impressive. So listen, guys, we're going to go ahead and get ready to wrap this thing up. Any last thoughts before we go? I do want to, of course, make sure to let everybody know where to check us out. You get the horns, man. If you're not checking out our content, we have a constant flow coming from so many different places. We're on long form videos on YouTube of our show. So you can go on there and hear what we have to say. Long form, just, flowing from one topic to the next. Some of these episodes are an hour long. Some are an hour and a half, might be 2 hours. And it's just stream of consciousness, man. We go through, we sit around like friends talking about sports and current events and different things like that. And we shoot straight. We break that down into smaller content for places like Twitter and TikTok, so you can always find us on there, on You Get the Horns show. So definitely want people to check us out. But any last thoughts here before we wrap it up?
Cannot wait for week 3.
Week 3 starts Thursday night. Yeah,
early prediction for week 3. Can't possibly be as good as week 2 was, right? There's no way it could possibly live up to week 2. No, couldn't possibly happen.
That's it. No, sir, no chance. No chance.
All right, guys. Well, listen, had a great time. We're going to be doing this soon, and look forward to talking with the people soon. Appreciate you guys being able to join. And, stay tuned. More entertainment coming. We'll see everybody soon.
Later, boys.
Oh, yeah. Later off, y'all.